I mean, living as a sort of a teenager at that time was quite an experience, because I have to say the heat was taken off me as a teenager for a while by, well actually I just set the scene, but I lived in this very middle class road where the far, sort of halfway down were council houses, and they were the kind of the people that we didn't speak to really. My mother would have nothing to do with them whatsoever. And at this end they were all sort of middle class private houses. Anyway, and the next thing, the people next door to us sold their house, and a young West Indian family moved in, and oh my God, you never hear the end of it from my mother, and a few other people up and down the street. It was as if Hitler had moved in. This was the worst thing that ever happened in our street, and as a result of it, estate agents' boards started to go up, because it was felt that this sort of young West Indian family would just devalue the houses. And when people tried to sell them, they found that it did actually devalue the price of their houses. And the only people who were prepared to, if you like, pay the asking price were the other West Indians. And trust me, where I lived, this was not going to happen. It was absolutely not going to happen. And they felt that they could sort of bring their culture to our street, and it went down like a lead balloon. It was, I don't know where they lived in Brixton before, and it was very different to where we lived, sort of 5 miles down the road. We had sort of reggae music 24 hours a day that virtually the entire street could hear, and they didn't kind of have any thought or regard for anybody else who lived there. They just didn't fit in at all. They didn't even try to. And the most bizarre thing happened that at the time my mother decided that we were going to get another dog, and so we got this corgi, this sort of queen type dog, stumpy thing, and it really wasn't the best idea to call it Rastus. Going out into the back garden shouting Rastus when you've got a West Indian family living next door, not the brightest thing to do. But anyway, that also went down like a lead balloon, as you can imagine, and it just kind of made the situation worse between neighbours, because it wasn't that my mother intended to be racist by calling this dog Rastus. It was just a name that came from nowhere, Dear. But anyway, within about 18 months, the West Indians decided that no, this wasn't the life for them. They moved on. My mother almost had a nervous breakdown, and that's when she really started to hit the bottle. She started knocking back, and my father was into making homemade wine. There were like flagons of it that would very quickly disappear. And it just all got too much, and eventually, I went out to buy a packet of cigarette papers one day. Actually, which reminds me of another story, because my mother, being Irish, had a very different logic to other people. And she was going down to the shops, and I said, look, can you get me a packet of cigarette papers while you're down there? Oh, she, okay, fine. So she got back from the shops, and there were no cigarette papers. and I queried this, and I'm not very good at the Irish accent. Whoever was in the shop when she asked for the cigarette papers said, "Would you like blue or green?" And my mother said, "No, thank you very much. I'm not having any son of mine walking around with blue cigarettes or green cigarettes." Well, she actually believed that the colour of the paper was blue and green, and I would be showing her up if I went out smoking a green cigarette. Which actually reminds me of another story, because when I was at school, we started smoking at around about 14. We tried all these different brands, you know, like from Park Drive upwards. And one day I walked into the shop and saw this sort of black looking pack, and I said, you know, "What are those?" And this guy said, "Well, they're Sobrani." So I spent this ridiculous amount of money buying this packet of Sobrani, and it had a little, you know, it was a flip up lid, not like your traditional lid. This was flat flip up, and inside were these gold filtered cigarettes of all different colours, like cocktail colours. I'd never seen anything like it, and I took a packet of these cigarettes to school one day, you know, behind the bike shed, you know, between breaks, you know, having a sneaky one, and I'm there smoking like green cigarettes and pink cigarettes, because that's all the colours that they were. And like the other guys, you know, around, "What the hell are you smoking there?" It was me with my, you know, pink cigarette with a gold filter. So that was quite another you know, funny story. But yeah, the best one was that my mother, she was just typically Irish logic, as the whole family were on that side. You know, I remember there was a distant cousin of mine out in Ireland, or distant relation, whatever he was, who had like a fishing boat hire business. He would hire boats out to, you know, to tourists, Americans and all that, to go off and do a bit of fishing in the middle of this lake, you know, and then come back hopefully with some fish. It was a bit of a busy day this day, and you know, the only boat left had a hole in it, right? So these American tourists came along, and he said, like, how long do you want to hire it for? And they said, "Oh, about an hour and a half." "Oh, it's fine," he said. So he rented them the boat, and off they went to do their fishing, and it slowly began to fill with water. And he was on the land, and he could see them sort of trying to bail the water out before the boat sank, you see. So they were rowing back like you'd never believe, you know what I mean? It's like an Olympic sport. They were coming back. So they arrived back on dry land, and "What the hell didn't you tell us the boat was going to sink?" And he said, "Well, you only wanted it for an hour." He said, if you'd have wanted it for any longer, I'd have told you it would have sunk. You know what I mean? So the Irish logic is wonderful. It really is, and I have a lot of it, you know. Well, percentage of it anyway. But yes, so, you know, my mother went off for these cigarettes and cigarette papers, and just came back, and, you know, I'm not having any son of mine, you know, smoking green or red cigarettes, and that was the end of it. It was quite funny. It really was. She had, when I look back at it now, a kind of Irish logic that people naturally make jokes about, and you know, most of the time it's absolutely true. It really is. But yeah, funny as anything. He used to lock me in my bedroom at night and sort of shut me in until the following morning. Yeah, weird experience.